Welcome to part 2 of the Setons game. If you haven't seen part 1, please switch. I will now start part 2. Hopefully I don't ruin it for anybody. So here it is. Of course, remember at the end of part 1 there was a successful experimental victory for the bottom side and a massive air battle between Nooved and Suspect. And of course Root. And Root, for whatever reason, turning his back. That could be some big losses for him. And a GC, full health GC versus Spider and GC for Hawk. Cruisers in support as well. Mice here running away from some torpedoes. Those torpedoes are being made by the mid player here. Hakuto with a big cyber and spam. Mai's in a lot of trouble. He needs help immediately. GCCC also getting pushed back by Suspect, and looks like Mize is gonna die to a whole bunch of torpedoes unless he can get out with his transport. And just in time, he's got to fly. He's got to fly right now. Hawk calls him a coward. I don't think this is quite cowardly, but no ASF to kill him. Mize. That was a nice move from Mize there. Meanwhile, in the middle, the GC with some help kills off the two moving in experimentals. Hawk survives. Now the GC is going to kill off a little bit of... And of course, not surprising, more drops from Mr. White. Mr. White now is going to retreat. The Jukebox back in the Navy, now making Tech 3 submarines. Tech 3 submarines from Mr. White as well. Another drop now planned from GCC. This is now 4 Tech 2. Mize makes his way into one of the ponds right next to Mr. White. Yeah, this is not naval mixing. If it's another player making his own faction, it's okay. At least that's the way it's been. But those submarines really not that big a deal. The big deal here is the 7 battle cruisers or 6 battle cruisers overwhelming DCC. Be surprised if DCC loses right there. And let's see if these can do something. Although so much ASF and a whole bunch of Strat bombers from Root. Root here, minute 31. 14 Strat bombers. That's a potential to cause a lot of damage. And here we see the Tech 2 drops. They usually outrun Tech 1 interceptors. Root with a couple ASF will shoot a few of those out of the air. It looks like that was good defense. And let's see where those Strat bombers go. Yeah, this will be very difficult to break DCC. He's got so much build capacity. He's also working on a fatty. But let's see the Strat bombers, where these are going to go. Wonder if it's actually going to be the ACU. The Root is just a really good player now. I mean, that was an excellent snipe. And now a nuke from Hawk, who's also making a whole bunch of spiders. And of course now Suspect is just going to roll in and clean up. Meanwhile in the other ocean, Mechfly versus Jukebox both have a whole bunch of Tech 3 subs, but an advantage looks like for Mr. White. And here comes a nuke. The anti-nuke does not have a missile. And this really sucks. Who died? DCC. Like to thank DCC for not leaving through the score screen and ruining this replay. I think I'll upload this anyway, just as an illustration. I think it was a good game anyway. We can still sort of see what happens. So I invested a bunch of time in this already. But it shouldn't be that long because Root, still naval domination suspect, is going to win this navy. But Mr. White's really the only big problem for the top side. Root's still not switching to hives, still content being basically at unit limit. You can see how many engineers he's got. He's got basically 550 engineers. No, nearly 600 engineers. And actually, if Nuvd decided to switch to hives, he might have an advantage and actually outproduce him in air. Because if you have 600 engineers, it means you can only make about 400 ASF, which could be a problem. Looks like Myers has taken over GCC's old base, still working on a fatty. And there was a nuke here that I guess was loaded for GCC, that's what he said. And he didn't get to shoot it. Just comes right back. A megalith here for Mice, taking on the secret navy from Hawk. Looks like he's switching to destroyers. Probably wants to walk on land. This would be a nice thing to explode. And now, of course, battleships can reach quite deep. This should be targeted now by suspect. Root and suspect in the same ocean. It'd be nice to put a nuke right there. An anti-nuke almost finished here for suspect. Akutu in the middle, still making spiders. That's a nice posse here. He might think about moving in, although he's facing a megalith and a GC and a pretty big air force now moving in. You can look at the numbers. 300 for Nude. Root 210, but Hawk is also making some. 53. So this air battle will be very interesting. If air is won by the bottom side, this could completely shift the game. Because if air is won, Mr. White could win his navy. And now the fatty has been completed, trying to counter. But of course the fatty looks like it will die if it doesn't move under some shields. And here comes the air battle. That's a lot of ASF. Yeah, he had 210 at one point. He's got 183 now. Moved down to 152. And I think it's really the fact that they're fighting closer to the air production of Root making a big difference. There's all this ASF for Nooved that isn't being used in the fight, and even though Root had less ASF to begin with, he still won the battle. And it also means that Hakuto was basically showered with mass. Each one of these is about 400 mass. So much mass for Hawk. And this will probably be the end of the game. Can't really recover from not having air and showering your enemies with mass. And of course now complete loss with battleships. Looks like Mize is giving away his units. Is he teleporting? Mize does have Cybern, so teleport would be nice. And now it looks like people are just going to throw in the towel. And after 37 minutes, actually no, Mize here with a teleport. Waiting to die. Also throws in the towel. Another air battle, and of course spiders from Hawk moving in. Smegula is still holding in the zone. Nooved refusing to hit the exit button. And of course, big thanks for DCC. Played extremely well, but didn't exit through the score screen. Guto back in the water. And now Nooved finally throws in the towel. The end had a whole bunch of eco, but when you're facing 4 players, even with this much eco, not much you can do. Another nuke from Hawk. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, Jukebox really was beaten up this entire game. Saved by Root. And there goes Nuve. And this game is over. Hopefully people enjoyed this one.